Okay, whenever you're ready, Janet.
Okay. I'd like to call the meeting of the St. Louis County Board of Trustees order. Can you hear me? The board members present today are Janet Herman, Chairman, Angelia Bills, member. The planning staff members are Debbie Nesbitt and Mel Wilson. First, I offer into the record the affidavit of publication pertaining to today's meeting, May 20th, 2020. The board hereby takes official notice of and admits into evidence on the record the St. Louis County Zoning Ordinance, Chapter 1003, St. Louis County Revised Ordinance 1974 as amended, and Chapter 1004, St. Louis County Revised Ordinance 1974 as amended. Next, I would call for a motion to approve the minutes of the previous BZA meeting of May 6th, 2020.
So moved.
And I will second. The hearing procedure is informal, but is a teleconference and is recorded. The planning staff will read each request into the record. The petitioner will be unmuted, state their name, and make a brief presentation to the board explaining the reason and hardship for the requested variance. The board will not consider financial hardships. Board members may ask questions to clarify the facts. When the board is satisfied with the material presented, the chairperson will then ask if there is anyone in favor or opposition to the request. To do so, click the hand next to your name, and if any comments were submitted, staff will read them into the record. Before a call for the vote, the petitioner may request a continuance in order to bring in additional documentation. The board may also request a continuance to gather additional information or for a visit to the site. Once comments have been heard, the chairperson will call for a vote. At that time, the discussion is ended and no further discussion is permitted. The board will generally make a decision today, but since there are only two members at this, if the board's vote is split 1-1, the request will be deemed held until a third member is appointed. If a variance is approved, the petitioner has 6 months from the end of the state of emergency to obtain the necessary permits or establish the use requested, or the variance will expire. The petitioner or any interested party has the right of appeal to the St. Louis County Circuit Court. This must be done within 30 days of the decision. Paperwork indicating the board's decision will be made to the petitioners. Anybody have any questions, or are they all muted still?
They're all muted.
Okay. All right. Okay, now let me get to my picture part that Debbie sent me.
The pictures will come up on the PowerPoint too.
Okay, but I kind of like they have Debbie's here too. Like that. Okay.
All right. Shall I go ahead?
Sure.
53-20, Todd Chonech requests an exception to the front yard regulations for the purpose of constructing a new single-family residence at 1678 Wild Cherry Park Drive, maintaining a front yard of 25 feet in lieu of 50 feet, as required by the new non-urban district regulations of the St. Louis County Zoning Ordinance. All right, Mr. Chonech, go ahead.
On mute.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. So the reason for it is there is a creek that runs through the property and it will approach me upon the creek embankment. So that's the reason for the request, is not to encroach upon the creek.
Okay, and I noticed that your front there is towards a private road. So
Correct.
is that what we were just seeing? Is that what you took the picture of, Debbie? That we have? Oh, she's muted.
She's muted.
So that's the road going to your property right there.
Correct.
All right. And no, could you put up that other or the drawing? Oh, thank you. Okay, so that's a private road that generally nobody uses much anyway.
Nobody uses it. It strictly dead ends into my property back there.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I don't think I don't have any other questions, Angelia.
I don't either. No.
Okay. Is there anyone in this call that is in favor or opposition? Do you see anything?
Teresa Petrie, are you here to speak on this request? Here we go.
Yes.
Okay, and we have a speaker. Go ahead, Teresa.
Okay. Well, and I don't mean to be a bad neighbor, but I already on one side I had planning and zoning not acknowledge the nuisance. The nuisance that a ball field would cause 24/7. Planning and zoning allowed Rockwood Summit to disregard requirements of 50 feet and 20 feet. I'm now dealing with 12 feet and 5 feet, which obviously causes constant issues. I have baseballs hitting my house, hitting and denting my car, trespassers constantly jumping my fence. To get the never-ending stream of baseballs in my yard. They're aggressive. They get in my face. Imagine, sitting on your front porch on a Saturday morning in your robe having coffee. You hear noise behind you. You think it's a deer. You turn around and no, it's a man looking for baseballs. At least they put a fence up in 2017 after my dad contacted an attorney because people were using our yard as a public bathroom and playground. A lot of parks were closed in line with COVID-19. So they're using the ball field 24/7. 24/7, I get to hear the crack of a bat. Thankfully they did put a fence up, but it's not going anywhere. We have kids. I find kids drinking stashes all along my property line. My barn's been broken into several times. I know Todd had a bobcat damage. Not sure if he made a police report, but we've made several. I'm a former news reporter, and I actually had a local station wanting to cover this all and the constant nuisance that I'm being subjected to on one side of my property, thanks to COVID. So the point is, I already have requirements laxed on one side. I'm actually getting ready to build a house back behind here to get further away from the nuisance of the school, which meaning that Todd moving his up, and then he's closer to me on the other side. Again, I'm not trying to be a difficult neighbor. That picture that you saw, I own that. I own all of that property where Todd created that road. Get to his 2 acres back there. I never said anything about anything about that. Never anything about the cars parked along that side of my property there, or anything else. I just, wasn't aware about any of this until 5 days ago. Just 5 days ago, I got a notice from planning and zoning that they were having this meeting. So thankfully, I could rearrange my work schedule to attend today. So, the bottom line is, I know he was aware of the restrictions when he bought the land. And I already have one neighbor where the requirement, 50 feet requirement, was pushed back to 12 on one side. And now I have someone on the other side wanting to move it 25 feet the other, I feel like I have from both sides people encroaching in on me.
So, Ms. Petrie, this is Janet Herman. I'm a board member. I think the drawing of your house is blocked by a little thing on here, people that are speaking. I'm trying to get an idea. So you're saying you have a Rockwood School District ballpark on the other side of you?
Yes, Rockwood Planning and Zoning several years ago decided that they would, instead of the 50 feet, could be 12 feet on one side, and instead of the required 20 feet, be 5 feet. So yeah, I have constant issues with the fact that they've encroached me from that side.
Okay.
I would still be 55 feet from her property. Not more than 50 feet from her property.
So I just trying to get an idea because I tried to go out to the place the other day, and Siri kept taking me to a place in University City, and so I
I saw somebody in a planning zoning minivan. I was out in my garage, saw somebody turn around there.
Well, that was not, maybe I couldn't find it, but I would like to would really like to see the property give me a better idea of what's going on, and I certainly understand your frustration with the ball field and everything. Of course, this is a separate.
I have video that I could share with you as well. They're hitting my house and whatnot.
Absolutely. This is not the ball field.
And I have the property line staked actually, so you'll see that if you come out here, you'll see where the stakes are marked on the other side of the road.
Mm-hmm. Well, of course, that's a separate issue we can't deal with, right?
Oh, sure.
But I understand your frustration. But I'd like to see You know, if Mr. Chonech's, you know, for myself, how close he is to you, and if he would pose any problem, I can see why you would not want another mess like on the other side of you, you know.
Yes, especially when I'm building a house back towards the back end of my property,
You're getting closer.
which is there near where that
closer
road is.
to me. So I'm 55 feet away from her property. If you accept the 25 feet limit, I would still be 55 feet from her property line.
Mhm. Okay,
So that has nothing to do with her, and the school board stuff has nothing to do with this meeting right here. I understand she's mad with that. That's it, not this meeting.
right, I just stated that, I believe.
Right.
Maybe you didn't hear me. I did state that, but I understand her concern. But I'd like to continue it and try again to go out and see it. Unfortunately, I just ran out of time. They keep sending me to U City.
Is there a time to meet you? I would love to meet you out there and show it to you. I'm available at the time.
You know, I don't know when I would be coming really with all this going on, but
I'm 5 minutes away at any given time.
yeah.
And I'm always here.
Okay. I'll look at it myself, and then if I feel like I need to talk to somebody, I can. But we try and do our best, and so for me to see the property would be better than just looking at the pictures here.
Pictures.
I mean, the drawings. Okay, Angela, is it okay with you if we?
Yes, we can continue it.
Okay, so we'll continue it for 2 weeks, so we can properly look at the property and make a good decision.
Okay. So I'll have an answer in 2 weeks, is what you're saying?
Well, you'll be re-advertised and you'll be back on the docket, but excuse me, if you don't want to appear, or talk, you don't have to if it's.
Oh, no, I want to be there present as far as with that. I'm just trying to figure out as far as.
Well, our meetings are only every 2 weeks.
Okay, so we're back to the every 2 week meeting now. Okay.
Actually, not
Yeah.
far back to every 2 weeks.
Oh, sorry.
Maybe, but it would either be 2 weeks or probably 3. But you would get a notice again.
Okay.
Will I get a notice via mail? Or...
I think the neighbors would also be noticed again as well.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I would feel better just doing this correctly for everybody concerned.
Absolutely.
Okay. So 53-20, we're going to continue.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
54-20, Joe Hatfield requests an exception to the front yard regulations for the purpose of constructing a retaining wall for a new single-family residence at 4575 Von Tals Road, maintaining a front yard of 16 feet in lieu of 25 feet as required by the R2 Residence District regulations of the St. Louis County Zoning Ordinance. Okay, Mr. Hatfield, you are unmuted now. Mr. Hatfield? See him. Oh, Mr. Hatfield?
Must have stepped away.
Okay, well, should we come back?
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, we'll go to 55-20, Jerry Schluter requests an exception to the front and side yard regulations for the purpose of constructing 2 decks at 4656 Oldenburg Avenue, maintaining a front yard of 8 feet in lieu of 20 feet for the front deck and a side yard of 3 feet in lieu of 6 feet for the rear deck as required by the R5 Residence District regulations of the St. Louis County Zoning Ordinance. Mr. Schluter, are you there?
Yes.
All right, you can go ahead.
Well, basically my hardship on this one is the subdivision is basically non-conforming. A lot of the houses are closer than that to the street. And the decks are really not functional the way they are. So with the stairs, they'll be aesthetically, not only aesthetically better, but they'll operate better, functional to walk.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking, I see from the pictures that we have that these are the homes that are really built close to the street to begin with.
Yeah.
Oh, there, yeah. So
Mhm.
you just wanted to replace that front
In the rear.
And a rear one. I'm just looking at the front one right now. And the rear one and the rear, just replacing them both in the same places.
Yes.
And I'm assuming that, I think those houses were probably built before zoning.
Yeah, they were
Yes.
really close. Yeah.
Yeah,
100 plus.
yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I don't have any other questions. Do you?
I
Andrew?
don't either. No, I don't.
Okay. So is there anyone on this WebEx site that's against or for this petition?
Okay. Hearing none, 55-20. I vote to approve the variance as advertised, and the hardship just being that the need to replace the two decks in the same spot.
Yes, I'll second. Okay, so Mr. Schotler, though, will someone be sending you your paperwork?
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
We made it.
Okay.
Good luck. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Okay, we're gonna try Joe Hatfield again. He sent me a chat. Joe, can you hear us? Can we hear you? Mr. Hatfield? You can hear us.
Is he muted?
He's not muted, but he.
I can't hear him or see him. Can you hear him, Mel?
No, I can't.
Oh, I think it's good. Okay.
And it doesn't look like, let's see. Doesn't look like Debbie Nesbitt's with us anymore.
Oh, yeah, she's.
Mr. Hatfield, we're gonna go to the next petition, but if you could just send me in the chat, if you could sort of explain your request, I could read it to the board. So, but we'll move on for now. 56-20, James P. Keeven requests an exception to the front and side yard regulations for the purpose of constructing a single-family residence at 1209 Kiefer Creek Road, maintaining a front yard of 35 feet in lieu of 50 feet along New Baldwin Road, a side yard of 8 feet in lieu of 20 feet, and a side yard of 9 feet in lieu of 20 feet, as required by the NU non-urban district regulations of the St. Louis County Zoning Ordinance. All right, Mr. Stock, you are unmuted now.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is George Stock, and I'm with Stock and Associates Consulting Engineers. Here this afternoon on behalf of Mr. Jim Keeven, the owner of this particular lot 22, which is at 1209 Kiefer Creek Road. You may remember, if you were in attendance, I came before you and sought front yard, side yard, rear yard variances, which were granted on January 23rd, 2019.
2000 when? 2019?
2019, right. And as you're aware, these variances are good for 6 months. Mr. Keeven started construction on the first home, and again, the variances were granted for 2 lots. He started construction on the first home, and he did not get to the second home within that 6-month time period, therefore it expired. And we are requesting the same variances that you granted on January 23rd, 2019. And they're a little bit different than we read on this application. What you granted was actually 25 feet, not 35 feet. You granted 6 feet on the side and 6 feet on both sides. And the practical hardship with this lot, and the reason we granted those was we have 2 front yards. We front New Baldwin Road and we front Kiefer Creek Road. So although the application says 35, 8, and 9, I think those dimensions are just being taken right off that plot plan that's up on the screen. The 6-foot setbacks that are shown and on this drawing, it's where it says proposed 6-foot setback, those were actually already granted and they simply expired. And the reason we'd like you to approve the 6, 6, and 25 is because a boundary adjustment plat was recorded. And that plat was recorded on April 1, 2019, identifying the setbacks. So what I don't want to happen is have a recorded subdivision plat that has different setbacks. So again, your consideration to grant the same variances that you granted on January of 2019.
And what was that again? So it's not what we have advertised right here?
Right, 25 feet and 6. It's what's shown on the drawing, but I know what St. Louis County Planning staff had done when they wrote this. They looked at those dimensions, those red dimensions being 35, and then the side yards being 8 and 9. But what we want is consistent side yard and front yard setbacks as to what the house is that's immediately to the north and what we were previously granted.
Well, so I'm a little confused because I did drive out there yesterday. And are we talking about the home that's being built right now in the corner?
No, the one on the corner,
Yeah.
It's
We're talking about that one or the red house next to it?
It's going to be immediately to the south of the one on the corner. The one on the corner, you already granted the variances. Those were the ones granted January.
So we're talking about something not even started yet. Okay.
It's just adjacent, it hasn't started, right. And the reason, and what brought this to fruition is Mr. Keeven and his architect went to apply for a permit to build the home at St. Louis County Public Works, and it was identified by zoning code enforcement that those variances had expired, and thus we're back asking for them.
All right. I was just a little confused because I thought we were talking about the one that was under construction now, and I was going to say, it looked like there was plenty of, that it was in, compliance with the other houses. I see what you're saying now, but
Okay, good.
I did see the lot and everything. So you just want it the same, the variance ran out.
That's correct. So I'd like to have the same one,
Yeah.
25, 6, and 6.
Mhm. Okay. Angelia, do you have any other questions?
I'm sorry. No, I don't. I was muted. Okay.
Okay. Oh, okay. Is there anyone on this site now that's for or against 5620? Nope, I guess not.
I don't see any.
Okay, I'm gonna vote 56-20. I'm gonna vote to approve the variance, not as advertised, but as we approved 6 months ago, which would be, or January of 2019, which be a front yard of 25 feet in lieu of 50 and a side yard of 6 feet in lieu of 20 and a side yard of 6 feet in lieu of 20 feet.
I second it.
Okay. Mr. Keevan, you'll get your paperwork in the mail.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, 57-20, Patrick and Carolyn Fogarty request an exception to the side and rear yard regulations for the purpose of replacing the existing deck at 2544 Hidden Meadow Lane, maintaining a side yard of 2 feet in lieu of 5 feet and a rear yard of 13 feet in lieu of 15 feet, as required by the R6 Residence District regulations of the St. Louis County Zoning Ordinance and PEU Ordinance 15,434. Mr. Fogarty, you are unmuted now. Mr. Fogarty, can you hear us? I see him here.
You do? I don't see him more. Yeah.
I see him, but it looks like he's muted.
Oh, I thought I just
Oh,
unmuted.
yeah, I see his name. Oh, yeah, there.
Yeah.
Mr. Fogarty?
Um,
Mr. Fogarty? Sure.
Oh, there. Well, there's his picture.
Oh, okay.
Oh, he's right there.
I see him.
Can't hear him though.
Something, but I don't hear him.
He's still muted. I see a mute by him.
Mhm. No, it should be okay. Can
No,
you
can't hear
can you hear? No.
him.
That's weird because it looks like he's unmuted.
He
It
is.
looks like he's unmuted now. He can chat.
So
Perhaps need to turn your volume up. Like, you can hear us though.
He said he can hear us.
Mhm.
Well, Mel, do you want to ask him? Because I'm looking at the pictures now. It looks like they're just wanting to replace it in the same footprint that it was before.
Right, that is the request here, right?
I mean, if you want to ask him this, there.
Okay.
So I believe it's this deck shown in this image. Oops.
Yeah.
Gosh
I
darn
mean,
it.
I'm okay with them if, you know,
So he's trying to replace the deck in the same spot
Right.
and same size. Okay.
Yes. Oh,
well, I'm okay with that then,
I am too.
unless there's somebody there that's against it. Is there any,
um,
Mhm.
Mel, is there any way you can tell if there's anyone there for or against this?
yes, I know there is one. Hold on. Let me unmute her. Okay, Susan, you're unmuted now.
Yes, you're staticky, but we can hear you. Okay, thank you. Gosh, since we can't hear the Fogartys.
So he was typing in the chat some more and he says it is identical to the original deck. The drawing, it says replace deck to same approximate size and layout as existing. And then you can see that 4-foot wide easement. You can see that the stairs from the deck do go over that a little bit.
But it says leave and reuse the stair pad, so they wanted
Right,
to.
so the pad, that would be the location of the pad.
So that really wouldn't change, right?
He says it's the same. Let me see Debbie's pictures. I mean, it's just this one picture, so you can see that those stairs right there are the stair pad, is the stair pad is underneath that, behind that grass.
Mhm.
Right. And I have another one here that's, I guess, the back of it or something. So I understand what Susan, I forgot her last name, was saying, you know, but I'm assuming that's been there for quite a while and hasn't caused any problems, is what I was going by. If it's, you know, usually if something's been there for quite a while and not caused any problems to anybody, replacing it seems okay. So you said Mr. Fogarty says, you don't know how long it's been there, do you? Well, I mean,
It says 20 years.
I guess they had to get a variance.
It would either have needed a variance to be constructed the first time or, you know, was out of compliance.
I mean, I don't recall it, but.
Well, this one is also, let's see, encumbered by a PEU, but that's what prescribed the 5-foot setback.
Okay.
Well, if it's in the same space and it's the same size, I don't have an objection to that.
Okay, I don't either. Oh, you know, I was confused, Bill. The picture you have up is this picture from the last one on the screen, but I've got my own pictures on the
Yeah, I wondered if I did.
Yeah, that don't look like it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
This is the picture.
Just the same. Yeah. Okay, well, all right. Well, I'm ready to vote then, if there's no one else to speak.
Okay.
Are you, Angelia? Let's see.
I think it's my turn. Is it my turn? No.
Yes.
57-20. I vote to approve the variance as advertised, and the hardship just being the need to update the deck in the same spot with the same size.
And I'll second that especially with what Angelia said, that it's not to be any large, it's not to be any different than it is now.
Okay. Let's go back to Mr. Hatfield. He's typed his sort of request to me, but I'm going to try. I've unmuted you again, Mr. Hatfield, if you think.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, we can hear you.
Yeah, it was a setting I had to change in the settings. So anyway,
Okay. Here we go. Okay, so we're back to 54-20, Joe Hatfield.
correct. Yeah, I'm building a new house for myself, and where the garage is, the elevation of the ground, which is kind of, well, the red line is the retaining wall to fill in where to bring the elevation up for the garage. I'm not, the setbacks, the house is about 28 foot off the property line, but the wall I'm bringing out some, to accommodate getting out of that third slip. I wasn't sure I didn't think retaining walls had to be within the structure setback. The house, it's 37 feet off that road is where the wall will be, 37 feet back. And I guess if you were out there, you probably saw on the other side of me is the exact same wall I'm building, a new home that was just built. And his is like 34 foot off the road. So it's just where the front of that backhoe is where that wall's going to go across. So that's how far back it is.
And you need it for what, your driveway or?
The garage, yes, ma'am. The garage will be right there. The elevation starts to come down. So to keep it level, I want to put the wall in so that it's level up where the garage is to meet the house. And it's just to raise that elevation up.
Okay.
Right now, I live in the house right next to this property. That's my house right there that you see right next door.
Okay. So I guess that neighbor's not against.
Yeah, we don't have to worry about that neighbor.
Okay. I don't have any other questions. You, Angelia?
No.
Okay. All right. I think that's, you've given us enough information, Mr. Hatfield. Is there anyone else there that on the site that is for or against?
I don't see any.
Okay. 54-20, I'm going to vote to approve the variances advertised. The hardship being they need to, Mr. Hatfield needs to raise the elevation for the garage for the home that's being built.
I second it.
Okay, Mr. Hatfield, your paperwork will be mailed to you.
Paperwork will, I'm sorry.
It'll be mailed to you.
Okay.
All right, 58-20 Clayton and Holly Francis request an exception to the rear yard regulations for the purpose of constructing a two-story addition to an existing single-family residence at 5854 Crystal Trees Corner, maintaining a rear yard of 10 feet in lieu of 20 feet as required by the NU non-urban district regulations of the St. Louis County Zoning Ordinance. Subsequently, Debbie Nesbitt let me know this petition has been continued. So we'll take it up at the next meeting.
Okay.
So we'll go to 59-20 Joe Hejlek, request an exception to the side and rear yard regulations for the purpose of maintaining an existing retaining wall and fence at 10851 Concord Circle Drive, maintaining both side yards of 0 feet in lieu of 6 feet and a rear yard of 0 feet in lieu of 15 feet, as required by the R4 Residence District regulations of the St. Louis County Zoning Ordinance and PEU Ordinance 16,099. All right, Joe, you should be unmuted now.
I'm on the line here.
Hi. So,
Hello?
yes, we can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
This is Janet Herman. I'm one of the board members. So did you put this in without getting a variance and coming to us for a variance now?
Yes, I think that's where we're at. I assume that, well, the contractor said he didn't think it was going to be over 4 feet and not knowing that he needed a permit. Well, after it was completely finished a year later, I had gotten a notice on my door and said, stop construction and have this taken care of. Well, I had reached out to a couple of Frank, who I think was inspector, talked to him and he told me what I had to do. He said, you have to get an engineer now and get him to approve that this retaining wall was put up properly. And so with that being said, I did reach out, cost me some money to get Case Engineering Incorporated to sign off with his stamp saying that they did everything right. The association's good with it. It's just that the fact of the matter is my contractor failed to get a permit. And I didn't know if it was his job or if it was my fault that I didn't check into this, but I guess, you know, it is what it is. And now I have a nice, well-built retaining wall that's accepted with the association and everybody else around it. But now it's just the fact that it has to be, you have to approve that it's done properly.
And here's the thing, the contractor should have known that, and I'd like to get his name on record to keep track of people like that just try and get around things.
Well, that's what I,
That's
and
their
I
business.
apologize because maybe I should have approached it in that part, you know, to say, hey, do you have a permit? Well, he told me he didn't think it was gonna, and there's only a small part in the back where it's over, you know, like 2/3 of it is under 3 feet, you know. But then I got a fence around the back of it, and it's just a horseshoe. It's just, it was such a deep runoff that I'd fall down the hill. I couldn't go out my backyard, so I built it up with a retaining wall, which was approved through the association.
Mm-hmm. Well, as far as I'm concerned, the contractor should have known, and I think we're just trying to get away with something. But
Mel, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
To clarify something for the board, the contractor built the wall and later added the fence and didn't realize that it counted as one structure when he did that. So the wall did not need a permit, but when he added the fence, it did. So that's why it's done. It was done in a violation.
Oh, who's speaking now, please?
That was Debbie Nesbitt.
Oh, Debbie, didn't sound like you. Okay. I don't know where you are, but anyway.
I'm here. I just had to switch computers for some reason. I don't know what happened.
Okay, so well, and it looks like what's behind you, like common ground or something like that?
Yeah, it's all well, no, it was approved with the people behind it, and I don't think there's an easement there, but we are, I think 18, like about 2 feet off that line, of their line. It's all open fields behind me. It's all wooded area. And so she didn't have I asked her if there was a problem with that, me putting that up, and she's, oh no, you know, the people that live behind me didn't have any issues at all, you know.
Okay.
And nobody had any issues. I think where the fault is, I guess, is mainly in me, maybe, and my contractor who did not diligently get a permit. And so then I had to spend a lot of money to get an engineer to say that now that it's all finished, it looks beautiful and it's fine and everybody's happy, except now the county wants to be sure that it was done properly, you know.
Right.
And I think
Okay.
it was pictures and all that sent in. I think I think we did all our diligence, what we should have done, you know. So except get a permit.
All right, well, thank you. Angela, do you have any other questions?
I don't know.
Okay. Is there anyone on this website that's for or against?
Mr. Sylvie, did you want to make a comment?
Yeah, like I said, we didn't try to do this in trying to avoid a permit. All the information that I had told, I was told that I didn't have to have one at that time. But again, with putting the fence on it, brought it above the 6-foot criteria for the having to get the variance. So therefore, yeah, like I said, it's kind of on my part. I mean, it's bad on my part that I didn't know some of the rules, but I have never ever tried to avoid trying to get a permit or doing something that wasn't right.
Okay. Angela, do you have any other questions?
No, I don't.
Okay. Thank you. Angela, I think this is yours.
Okay, 59-20, I vote to approve the variance as advertised. The retaining wall and the fence looks great. I think it gives an improvement to the property, so I vote to approve it.
I'll second. Mr. Hejlek, you will be sent your paperwork in the mail.
I'm sorry.
You'll be sent your paperwork in the mail.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
All right, 60-20, Gary Boyett requests an exception to the rear yard regulations and the lot coverage requirements for the purpose of constructing an above-ground swimming pool and deck at 2428 Whitshire Drive, maintaining a rear yard of 10 feet in lieu of 15 feet and a lot coverage of 9.5% in lieu of 7%, as required by the R3 Residence District regulations of the St. Louis County Zoning Ordinance. Okay, Gary, you're unmuted now.
Okay. Basically, we just want to put an above ground pool in with the deck. We sit down in a little valley off of this lot, so everything's pretty wet. The deck would just be to have ease to get in and out of the pool, and the deck would be the only portion of the construction that'll be on the setback.
60-20. So what's that behind you? A field a baseball field or something?
There's a church, St. Paul's Church on Telegraph, and it's a soccer field.
Oh, okay. So that's where you would like the rear yard of 10 feet instead of 15. Okay. So that won't really be disturbing anyone. And then your lot coverage is in those small lots there or something, or?
This was the first lot built in the subdivision in '82, and it's a little smaller than the rest of them. So I don't want to say it's small. I mean, it's 7,000 square feet. But because of the location sitting below that church lot, it's wet all the time. So some of the structure is just so that we can have use to the backyard.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're going a little over your lot coverage allowance, but okay.
I don't have any questions.
You don't have any other questions, Angela?
No.
Okay. All right, is there anyone on this website that's for or against?
Debbie Harness, did you want to make a comment on this request?
Yeah, I'm for it. And I'm his next door neighbor that's closest to the pool.
Oh,
Okay.
well then I guess I'll go ahead and vote. 60-20, I'm gonna vote to approve the variance as advertised. The hardship for the placement of the pool, I think is the lot is cul-de-sac lot, and Mr. Boyd had said that parts of the lot collect a lot of water, so setting back that far does not look like it will impact anybody. It's going up against the soccer field, so I don't think there's any anything that'll harm the neighbor.
I second it.
Okay, Mr. Boyette, so you'll be receiving your paperwork in the mail.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, 61-20, Andrew Gelker requests an exception to the lot coverage requirements for the purpose of reconstructing a deck around an existing above-ground swimming pool at 5201 Lakewood Avenue, maintaining a lot coverage of 11% in lieu of 7%, as required by the R5 Residence District regulations of the St. Louis County Zoning Ordinance. Okay, Andrew, you are unmuted now.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, pretty simple. I've already got a above ground pool. When we bought this house 3 years ago, it was already there. The deck is not going to be very big, as you can see from the drawing. It's then you can see in the back left corner there's a shed, and that's so there's going to be plenty of space remaining in my yard. It really, I don't know. I guess it goes over the zoning requirement, but it apparently not by much. And there's plenty of adequate space in my yard, so I think it's pretty cut and dry, I guess, what I'm asking for.
Mel, one of the comments that Public Works had on this was he looked like he needed a rear yard of 10 feet in lieu of 15 feet for the existing pool.
Well,
According to his plan, it doesn't, but
in the rear yard, looking at the shed in the corner would encroach as well.
well, that could probably be because of the size. So
if it's under, yeah.
So they were just concerned about the pool being in the setback.
But if the pool isn't 6 feet tall, is it?
It's 4 feet tall.
So would that
I believe counts as in the setback.
Well, so you think, who said that? Public Works? No, who said that?
Yeah, so let's include the pool just to cover everything with the variance.
So what would the dimension, what would the variance?
Let's do a rear yard of 10 feet in lieu of 15 for the pool, and then the lot coverage also.
Okay. Okay. So your hardship is you feel like you need a decking around the pool to get in and out and safely?
Well, it will. I mean, it will definitely make it easier for us to, just kind of enjoy it, as opposed to climbing in and out of it on a stepping ladder that we've been doing. My wife has a few different physical ailments that make it harder for her to move, so the deck would be a lot nicer. I'll say that for her, and it's going to be a relatively small deck. It's only going to be on, I think, like one corner of it. But yeah, that's basically it.
Okay. Do you have any other questions, Angelia? Did you say?
No.
Is there anyone on this site that's for or against?
I don't see any.
Okay. Angelia, I think this is yours.
Okay, hearing none, 61-20. I vote to approve the variance as advertised. I think the hardship is just the need for safety around the pool, public safety, and health accommodations for his wife.
Okay, and also, I'm gonna put in there that we're gonna also include the pool and variance at 10 feet in lieu of 15 feet to put it in compliance. Public Works said it was not in compliance, so, so then I will approve of all of that also. Okay, so Mr. Kerr, you'll receive your paperwork in the mail.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, I guess our meeting adjourned, right?
This one.
Okay. That was a little challenging more, but you did a good job, Mel, getting Mr.
We're getting better.
A little challenging getting Mr. Hatfield on.